The Myford University Podcast, Episode 19. We're going to talk about intellectual curiosity and open-mindedness. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Myford University, where we just don't waste time. We get right to the stuff that actually matters. No fluff, no filler, just practical tools to help you think better, learn faster, and apply more. Today, we're going to be talking about two habits that are absolutely essential if you want to grow in any area of your life or career. They're not sexy, they're not flashy, but they are powerful. They are intellectual curiosity and open-mindedness. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, yeah, I already have an open mind, let me stop you. Most people think they have one and say they have an open mind, but very few people actually practice it, especially in today's culture of hot takes, echo chambers, and cancel anyone who disagrees with me. So let's get into these two traits, curiosity and openness, and get a little more deep in terms of them being very good ideas and good practices to live by. They are essential tools for learning, adapting, solving problems, and staying ahead. So, what are we actually talking about? Let's define it clearly. Intellectual curiosity is that desire to explore ideas, challenge your assumptions. Well, we don't like assumptions, and ask what else is true. It's when you lean into complexity and not away from it. Having an open mind is the ability to hear something that contradicts your beliefs and not instantly shut it down. You don't have to agree with it, but you have to engage with it. Think of these two as your mental oxygen. That's a good way to put it. Without them, your thinking suffocates. All right? So always be open to new ideas and be intellectually curious, because that's how you keep your mind exercised and get you going and look at things from a different perspective. So let's get right to it. Why it matters, and now more than ever, believe it or not. We're living in a world where complexity is rising and attention spans are shrinking. People want easy answers. But the real world isn't that simple. I talk about this with my colleagues all the time. Some people like black and white, but sometimes you have to live inside the gray. Think about that concept for a second. So, if you want to make better decisions, you want to lead people effectively, or navigate change, or solve hard problems, or even stay relevant in your work, then you need to stay sharp. And staying sharp requires curiosity and openness, period. You really can't get around it. It is also what makes you more human. It makes you a better listener, a better friend, a better leader, a more patient parent. And honestly, it's a lot harder to manipulate. All right? Let me give you some reasons why you should engage in opposing viewpoints. In fact, I'll give you 5 of them. Here we go. You want to show that you're willing and open to hearing new things, and you should intentionally seek out viewpoints that you disagree with. Okay? You should always be testing and challenging. So think of it from that perspective. All right, number 1, curiosity and sometimes amusement. When you explore unfamiliar ideas, you encounter mental novelty. Sometimes it's enlightening, sometimes it's ridiculous. Either way, it keeps your brain alive and moving and functioning. Your brain is a muscle that needs to be exercised. There's no two ways about it. I mean, you don't have to agree, and you just have to listen and let it stretch you. I mean, I'm always, when I'm listening to someone talk to me about something, I'm either hoping I'm going to learn something new, or I'm going to question what I know. And in some cases, it confirms what I know. I don't start out looking for confirmation. That's confirmation bias. I look for new information, and then I reevaluate what my beliefs and assumptions are. And again, I don't like using assumption. And every now and then, you're going to catch a glimpse of truth that you didn't expect when you're listening to things that you don't normally listen to. Number 2, understanding others. You can't lead people, sell to them, teach them, or build for them if you don't understand them. Think about that for a sec. And guess what? Most of the people you need to understand don't think like you. So instead of labeling them, engage with them. Ask them, what do you care about? Why do you see it that way? And it will change your ability to connect and communicate. You know, I even think of something like I was talking about with people the other day. You really need to get in their shoes and see things through their eyes. I'm getting involved in a process improvement situation, and I am going to be doing some fact finding. I may have the answers even starting out, but I'm going to still go through the process. I'm not going to interrogate them. What I'm going to do is fact find with them. I'm going to ask them to walk me through their process, walk me through what they're doing now, what works, what's not working, what's difficult, where's the friction. I want to get into their mindset and their shoes and see if I can't put things into perspective, but in a slightly different way that's more effective and efficient, that ultimately makes their lives easier. So always think in terms of what it's like to see things through their eyes. All right, number 3, sharpening your thinking. Listen, if you've ever debated someone or gotten smoked by a debate, it's probably because you didn't study their side hard enough. One of the first rules in debating is not necessarily to go on offense, it's to go on defense. And defense usually means you have to look at it from their arguments. That's how you win a debate. If you really want to be persuasive and not just loud, you need to understand your opponent's logic, language, and emotional triggers. This is what we call at Myford University intellectual reconnaissance. Think about that. Got to do a little bit of research, advanced research, before you dig into your argument. You want to think about what possible things they're going to come up with, how they're going to come at you, and you got to do your homework. So you want to learn how they argue, then you can meet them where they are and you can beat them with clarity. Number 4, adapting to change. Listen, smart people can change their minds when the facts change, period. I'm always willing to test my, belief systems and things that I take, as rules of thumb, so to speak. If something has changed, and I've said this before, things change, times change, and sometimes it's time for a new decision. So think about it from that perspective. By engaging in that contrary viewpoint or viewpoints, it gives you the information and the pressure you need to reassess and adapt. That's not being weak. That's being agile. In a fast moving world, mental agility is a superpower. Again, things change so fast that what was true 5 years ago may not be true now. What was true 5 months ago may not be true now. You constantly have to reevaluate and reassess. Number 5, finding common ground. You might think you have nothing in common with someone, but if you're both being honest and human, there's almost always something that you have in common. One belief, one value, one priority. That little bit of overlap is where respect starts. And that's where real dialogue can happen. And sometimes that's all you need to build something bigger. One of the best things you can do is just talk to people and ask them questions and let them speak. Take it all in, and then go back and say, if I understand you correctly, this is what you're saying. And then try to get an understanding of why they believe that. And then with that, then you may be able to say, well, have you ever considered counterpoint, and see what they have to say? That's how you can work through this. Find that common ground, because there are things you can agree on. It's especially true when you're doing negotiations. All right, let's move forward a little bit. Who should practice this? Well, as you're probably going to guess, everybody. Seriously, everybody can learn from this. Whether you're a student, whether you're a leader, whether you're a creative, an engineer, entrepreneur, a parent, a teacher, any citizen, anyone can benefit from this. If you're alive and you want to grow, curiosity and openness are part of the deal. These aren't skills that you graduate out of, they are life practices. I am constantly looking at things and reassessing what I know, and I'm looking for new combinations. I highly recommend you look at things from this perspective. Even if I think at the end of it, I've listened to what they had to say and I still disagree with it, and they haven't changed my mind, and I haven't seen something new or tried a different approach from it, I at least give them the courtesy of listening to it. If they start getting circular, then at that point you may want to use the old expression, well, we have to agree to disagree. All right. When and where can you use this? This isn't just something for political debates or podcast guests, for example. You can apply this anywhere. Where? Well, when you're reading or watching the news, when you're solving a problem at work, when you're getting feedback. Again, that to me, those last two, I use those all the time in what I do. In project management and process improvement, you constantly have to get feedback. You constantly have to ask them and get an understanding. All right, continuing. When you're talking to someone who frustrates you, we all have that. And when you're reflecting on your own beliefs, I keep mentioning it, I'm constantly reassessing what I know, constantly, because things change. So, especially when you're feeling triggered, that is your moment. That's the doorway to deeper thinking. Always be willing to hear the other side. Years ago, there were people who would complain, and there's been debates on free speech. I may not disagree. I may not agree with what someone's saying. May disagree with them vehemently, but I want to hear what they have to say simply because I want to know where everyone stands. And once I know where everyone stands, then I know who and what I'm dealing with, and I know how to navigate through a relationship that I might have to have with them, whether it be personal or professional. All right. My favorite part of these podcasts, how to build these habits. I mean, how to use this, how to develop it, you name it. So let's get tactical with this, okay? Here's how to build your ability with this into your daily routine, okay? And these are going to sound familiar. If you've followed my podcast, it's a very similar formula. One, ask better questions. Instead of how do I prove that I'm right, ask what am I missing? What am I missing? Again, I mentioned before, if you're going into a debating situation, you need to do some competitive intelligence and understand their position, and then consider and think about how they might attack your position. Two, follow people that you disagree with. Read their books, listen to their podcasts, watch their interviews, learn the strongest version of their argument. Think about that one. There are a lot of people that I disagree with on most of what they believe. However, there are certain points that I have to concede to them, and there are certain things where I think that they are a shining example. There are people who I disagree with completely with their political beliefs, but for example, I can respect them for the way they deliver it, for the thoughtfulness of it, for their presentational speaking abilities. I can appreciate certain aspects, even though I may disagree with 80% of what it is that they say and believe. I may not totally disagree with everything. I'll give you a great example. David Grabler passed away, but has a great book talking about bullshit jobs. In a way, he had an influence in my talking about the idea that I think college is bullshit. Well, he wrote a book about bullshit jobs. I disagree with most of his approaches and most of his beliefs in other areas, but when it comes to that one particular area, I wholeheartedly agree with him that there is something to be said about that. Okay, let's continue. You want to pause before reacting. Always listen all the way through. Don't just wait for your chance to speak. Listen all the way through, and then you ask some questions. Don't debate, understand. Remember, we've talked about this concept before. Seek to understand before you seek to be understood. All right? Let that sink in for a moment. Number 4, reflect regularly. Journal about what has challenged you. Track how your thinking is evolving. I didn't do this when I was younger, but as I matured, I decided, you know what, a little self-reflection and reconsideration of things isn't a bad thing. In fact, it may lead you to some new insights. So always, always, always reflect. Challenge yourself, not just others, but challenge yourself and see, is there something that has changed or something you have missed that you might want to adjust? Next, be willing to change your mind. It's not a betrayal, it's growth. Again, I've said it over and over and over again. Things change. Times change. Technology changes. All sorts of things change. And sometimes your thinking needs to change with it. Sometimes you need to make new decisions and have new positions on things because circumstances have changed. You may have had one position a while ago, but certain things happened and changed, and you had to pivot and reassess and readjust your thinking. So be willing to do that. And number 6, surround yourself with thoughtful challengers. Don't just hang out with yes people. Get a crew that pushes you kindly but clearly. Always listen to the other side. Always be willing to accept and make sure that you're not just surrounding yourself with pure birds of a feather. Every now and then, a great idea can come from an unusual, unlikely place. Like I say, I hooked into that whole thing with David Graeber. His thesis on that idea makes so much sense to me because I can see it. There are just situations where you will find someone that you would normally disagree with on most things. You can find something that you fully agree with them on. All right. I'm hoping that this has helped you out. So let me get into some final thoughts. I mean, this is really the edge. At Myford University, we're not about collecting facts. We're about developing tools that you can help you get ahead in business, in life, in thinking. And when it comes to certain tools, 2 great tools, intellectual curiosity and an open mind, are 2 of those tools. And they're fantastic tools if you know how to use them right. They will keep you relevant, they will keep you resilient, and they will keep you respectful. Most people stop thinking at the edge of comfort. You're not most people. Don't be like that. Always be willing to push the boundaries. I'm going to do a thing on the adjacent possible, and it kind of ties into that. When you go to the cutting edge, you will always see what the adjacent possible is on the horizon. When you get to the end of the horizon, there's always more. Always be willing to test the boundaries. So here's your challenge for the week. Pick one book, one podcast, one video, an article from someone that you disagree with, and engage in it fully. Take notes and ask yourself what you've learned. You don't have to convert. You just have to grow. I highly recommend you folks take a look, Google David Graeber and bullshit jobs. And you don't necessarily have to read the whole book, but look into that concept and see what he has to say. It'll really open your eyes to a few things. So with that, that's it for today. If this episode did challenge you, I hope that you will share it. Please don't keep us a secret. Forward it to someone who needs it. Or better yet, have a real conversation about it. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and stay bold. This is Myford University, where you will learn it fast and apply it faster. We will see you the next time.